Hi, this is Manicures and Manuscripts. Today we're going to be talking about Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. It was published in 2022 and is not about COVID. It has a lot of positive reviews on Amazon, about 174,000 and a 4.6 star rating, which is why I picked it up. I read this on my e-reader. It is 365 pages, broken down into 45 easy-to-digest chapters. This story has a little bit of everything in it. It begins with our main character, Elizabeth Zott. She's the feminist we all wished we had, living in Southern California in a town called Commons. I'm not all too familiar with the California towns, but it sounds like it's right on the water because there's a lot to do about rowing. Elizabeth isn't really into rowing herself, but she meets a handsome fellow named Calvin Evans, and he is an avid rower and teaches her. This story has strong themes about feminism and breaking down barriers of male-dominated subjects such as chemistry, as well as rowing. Miss Zott is always a miss, never a Mrs., because she is adamant to be making it on her own and not on the name of her husband or spouse. We're first introduced to Elizabeth as she is giving inspiring notes to her daughter Madeline in her lunchbox to inspire her to be a strong-willed woman, just like herself. Elizabeth's neighbor comes to the rescue by butting herself into her affairs and pretty much saves Elizabeth by being able to take care of her daughter, allowing Elizabeth to take on this new big embarkment of a task that Mr. Pine gives to her. Elizabeth ends up becoming a Showtime host and inspires the whole country through cooking. Every story has to have a bad guy, and in this case, there is always the misogynistic boss or husband, and we've got both in this story. Elizabeth has the boss who puts her down and puts his name on her work and is just a all-over terrible human being. He always goes for the men and promotes men over her. We also have in this story the neighbor who helps Elizabeth. One of the reasons she's never wanting to go home is because her husband is not the nicest guy. Throughout the story, the only two men that have Elizabeth's back are this handsome Mr. Evans and her dog. She names him 6:30 for the time of day that she met him. As is always the national commentary on women and work in this country, there's always a question as to Elizabeth's ability, or any woman's ability, to be able to raise children and have a professional career. One should not have to choose between the two, and as this story shows, Elizabeth is quite capable as she starts to train 6:30 to understand hundreds of words, even though he is just a dog. While the character of Mr. Pine might seem to have her back in the beginning because he is the one that offered her the position to be the lead host on this television show, he also seems to be a very big puppet for those in charge, which happen to be other men. He consistently argues with her and tries to push their ideologies onto her, such as having to wear dresses and be pretty and have gorgeous sets instead of taking her seriously as a scientist. This story takes place in the late 50s and early 60s, which is really the jumping point towards equalized pay and equalized opportunities and equalized rights for women in the workplace post-World War II. What you can see in this story is that it's not just in the workplace, but it's everywhere. Even in the rowing community, it is so male dominated that she, as a woman, has a hard time being accepted as a rower. And finally, towards the end of the story, we do find out that there are stronger women in the world, though they might have to act through a man's name. This isn't unlike today's world where many women have to use men's names to be respected just as much. While this story was a little bit slow, it did read up nicely, and I do recommend you read it. Even if you don't buy it, go stop by your local library and pick up a copy so that you can enjoy a fresh summer read. This has been Lessons in Chemistry. The nail polishes I'm using will be listed in the description below. Be sure to like and subscribe for more videos like this. This has been Manicures and Manuscripts. Thanks for listening.